Hello and welcome. I'm Eric Logothesis and I'm here with Uza Hamad and Abrayanis Radasan. Today, we're going to be talking about justice. So, what is justice in the context of medical ethics?
Well, so justice in the context of medical ethics is essentially the principle that when weighing up if something is ethical or not, we have to think about whether or not it's compatible with the law as well, and the patient's rights, the human rights, to see if it's fair and balanced. And this also means that we have to make sure that no one's unfairly disadvantaged when it comes to access to healthcare. So healthcare should be accessible to all. And justice is also another reason why the NHS has certain entitlements, like free prescriptions for lower income individuals, so that everyone, no matter what background they come from, has some sort of access to medicine. But what are the legal implications that this brings about?
So there are many main legal issues, mostly regarding medical negligence, informed consent, and patient confidentiality. So one of the legal issues are antitrust issues and ACOs. So ACOs are accountable care organizations, which are groups of doctors, hospitals, and other healthcare providers who voluntarily provide coordinated high quality care to patients. So these ACOs aim to increase healthcare quality and lower costs, and it's recognizable as an accountable care organization program. However, these aren't trusted very much. Another legal issue are false claims and whistleblower suits. So this refers to the National Health Service process of detecting healthcare fraud and abuse perpetrated by dishonest physicians, healthcare providers, and suppliers. So once again ties in with the antitrust issues within the NHS. So normally a country's government isn't able to detect enormous volume of claims submitted to the governing healthcare bodies. The fact is that the whistleblower cases have shown that the healthcare providers and suppliers have found many ways to defraud the government. So this helps the government of the country to recover the money that was paid as a result of fraudulent claims. So it helps fight against healthcare fraud. Another legal issue is that there is a lot of healthcare system malpractice and tort reform. Essentially, what this means is that the reason why governments work on reducing medical malpractice and have implemented tort reform is to reduce wasting money on unnecessary healthcare services. Besides reducing costs, these reforms can also lead to a decrease in malpractice risk. So essentially decreasing the amounts of mistreatment by doctors towards patients. So what are some of the human rights based approach in terms of justice, Abner?
Well, just going off of the malpractice, the point you made of malpractice, rights-based approaches can help to reduce this, to reduce the amount of malpractice that goes on. A human rights-based approach to healthcare provides a set of like clear principles for setting and evaluating healthcare policy and service delivery. So what this does is it targets discriminatory practices and unjust power relations. So there's more equality overall in the healthcare system. And according to the World Health Organization, there's three main core principles of human rights. The first being accountability. So states and other duty bearers can be answerable for the observance of human rights. But right now, there's more focus being put on businesses as well, which are non-state actors, to respect and protect human rights as well. And also the second is equality and non-discrimination, which is quite a big one. So the principle of non-discrimination seeks to guarantee that human rights can be exercised without discrimination based off of race, colour, sex, language, religion, political or other opinions, nationality, social origin, property, birth, disability, age, etc. And any discrimination that occurs in healthcare means, and entitlements for achieving this access is prohibited based off of the conditions that I previously mentioned, and all this which has the intention or effect of removing the equal enjoyment of the right to health, which is quite important. And the third and final one, participation. So participation requires ensuring that all concerned stakeholders, including non-state actors such as businesses, have ownership and control over development processes in all phases of the programming cycle. So analysis, assessment, planning, implementation and monitoring and evaluation of a healthcare system. And participation, it goes beyond just consultation and technical addition to project design. And it should include further plans such as strategies to empower citizens, especially ones that are most marginalised, such as disabled people or people in poorer regions. So, going off of this, what are the health inequalities that may present themselves, Eric?
Yeah, so health inequalities, to define it quickly, is they're unfair, unavoidable differences in the health of different populations across or anywhere. So common common ways this comes about is even based off where you were born, where you grow up, where you live, or your age and place of work. These factors really influence the opportunities people have to get good healthcare and therefore good health. Yes, like I said, and Abanane said earlier, that it would be disabilities is quite a big group for this.
So, Eric, with regards to the health inequalities, does the NHS have a set of principles to minimize the discrepancy of healthcare between deprived and non-deprived areas?
So their main, one of their main fundamental underlying sort of mottos is that they aim for the highest standards of excellence and professionalism. This really helps them in loads of different ways to overcome those discrepancies. One of the main ones that limits that is the fact that it's free of charge unless very limited. There's a small exception to that rule, but that really removed discrepancies based on wages and availability to money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any other relevant principle that guides the NHS?
Well, they always use medical ethics to sort of direct them in these circumstances. So justice, as the talk for this one today, that's what they often use.
Just to build off on your point, Eric, the NHS, they do have some other values as well that I'm not sure if we've mentioned yet. So the NHS provides a comprehensive service available to all. So again, as mentioned on the World Health Organization website on human rights, this means that irrespective of gender, race, disability, or any other characteristic, all people have the NHS has a duty to serve each and every individual, to respect their human rights. And at the same time, it also has a wider social duty to promote equality through the service it provides. So,
Can I just add in a
sure.
point? So one of the other core principles of the NHS that really ties in with your point, Abernathy, is the fact that the NHS is able to give access to patients based on their clinical need instead of how much they can pay for, which is quite different to what they do in America, which I believe is that they pay for whatever they have to get done.
Yeah, it is quite different now. And I think that's one of the things that's so great about the NHS, is that this sense of equality, that no matter what economic situation you're in, you always have the access to medical healthcare.
Yeah.
Which I think is quite important. And just moving off on this to the second value. So another one is access to NHS services are free of charge. However, in limited circumstances, these are sanctioned by the Parliament. Now we'll be moving on to several examples where justice is involved.
So the first example is the use of medical cannabis to act as a treatment method. So medical cannabis is essentially a broad term for any sort of cannabis-based medicine used to relieve symptoms. Many cannabis-based products are actually available to buy online, but their quality and content is unknown. This basically makes it illegal and potentially dangerous. Some products might claim to be medical cannabis, such as CBD oil or hemp oil, or are available to buy legally as food supplements from health store, but sadly there's no guarantee that these actual cannabis products are of decent quality and provide any health benefits at all. The most reliable cannabis
Really linked.
products,
Yeah. Go on.
the most reliable cannabis products are able to be prescribed by your doctor. So yeah, can you get a prescription for medical cannabis? So there are three scenarios where you can get prescriptions for medical cannabis, and it's in children and adults with rare severe forms of epilepsy, adults with vomiting or nausea caused by chemotherapy, or people with muscle stiffness and spasms caused by multiple sclerosis. And other treatments, it's not considered suitable or helped. The reason it's only used for these three cases is because it has major side effects. For example, this includes decreased appetite, diarrhea, feeling sick, greater weakness, behavioral mood change, dizziness, feeling very tired, feeling high, hallucinations, and suicidal thoughts. There is a type of cannabis known as THC cannabis. THC cannabis is the illegal type, which some sellers sell under the name of CBD oils, which is classed as which is what is sold on the health stores, so essentially is better for health. So the main risks of THC cannabis products are psychosis. There have been experiments which have provided significant evidence for the fact that regular cannabis use increases your risk of developing a psychotic illness such as schizophrenia. And another main risk of the THC cannabis products is the fact that they depend on the medicine, or in this case the THC, they get addicted.
Yes, I think medical cannabis is a pretty sorry for cutting it. Medical cannabis is a pretty interesting case here, since it's got so much potential to do good, but its reputation has kind of been slandered by its use outside healthcare. So,
to be honest, I believe it's the addicting factors which makes it unsuitable for medical healthcare. What do you think, Abner?
Yeah, you can see though really how they use justice in that decision whether or not to use it, because even though it's not legal, it has so much benefit for certain cases, so they really have to weigh it up.
Yeah, so once again, in regards to patient-centric care, they're trying to do what's best for the patient. So in this case, as they said, it's only in three rare cases that they're trying to. It's only in three rare cases that they're giving cannabis, not in any other cases. So essentially, providing justice to the patient by providing them the best possible care that they can.
Yeah.
One of the core values of the NHS.
Yep. So when used correctly and in the right circumstances, it is the right thing to do. It is just to use medical cannabis, but only in specific circumstances.
Well, when we talk about if it's compatible with the law, we have to make sure that we're using the right one. So CBD oils instead of the THC cannabis, which is much more harmful for your health, both psychologically and physically.
Yeah. Okay, so in conclusion, just to summarize, medical cannabis can be harmful, but in the right circumstances it can be beneficial in terms of healthcare, based off of justice. Okay, let's move on to a example of justice now, to put this knowledge to use. Patients suspected of having cancer are prioritised within the NHS, with the maximum waiting time for referral being 2 weeks, as opposed to 18 weeks for non-urgent referrals. Patients diagnosed with cancer are entitled to a range of treatments, including radio and chemotherapy. These treatments are expensive and treat a small but significant portion of patients. So, this does raise a couple of dilemmas for justice. So, what do you think those arguments could be, for and against
Yeah,
this
they
issue?
Are you gonna go first?
prioritizing these cancer patients there really limits the availability to other patients across all accesses of healthcare. So whether that's treating other diseases like obesity, where there would be more, even there for money terms, there'd be more benefits to the society. But of course, you can't really just ignore these patients just based off their illness. That wouldn't be just either. So there's a fine line there.
Yeah.
Can I just say,
Yep.
so if you reduce the waiting time of other patients, that means that the waiting time for the other patients will increase. And talking about the budget, right? With the budget, if more budget is spent on radiotherapy and chemotherapy for a smaller proportion of patients compared to spending this budget that's used on this chemotherapy, radiotherapy for stents or something significantly cheaper for something that's much more common, such as cardiovascular disease or obesity, then it might not be very just.
Yeah.
Because they can help a lot more people with a lot less money.
Mm-hmm. And since it's,
But then again,
yeah.
the argument arises that people with obesity or CVD generally cause it themselves. So is that really just?
That's true.
Not all causes cardiovascular diseases. Some can even be genetic. You can't really just summarize it into one group that they're all doing it to themselves.
Yeah, you got to look at it with by a case by case evaluation. And also, a counter argument for this would be that referring these patients to specialist centres, you're actually freeing up other services for other people, with diabetes or heart disease, like more common diseases. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, overall, it's always better to increase the availability for everyone. So if there's already specialists for oncology waiting for cancer patients, then obviously it's better to send those patients over, bringing up more place for everyone else.
To be fair, referring all these people to specialist oncology centres, it would increase the stress on these oncology centres. So it might actually end up increasing the waiting time for the cancer patients.
Yeah.
Which won't be very fair on the cancer patients. And I believe that one of the reasons cancer is prioritised is because if it's found early, it can be treated easily. But if it's not found early, it can become terminal. So, for example, developing from the stages, stage 1 through to 4.
Yeah, that is also a factor you need to consider in these kind of diseases that progress and get worse.
Yeah.
And also, another argument is that it could be argued that spending public money on radio and chemotherapy on a small group of people would actually benefit a greater number of people. We've already mentioned this, of course, with diabetes.
Okay.
But a counter argument would be that early treatment increases survival rates and reduces the cost of cancer treatment later on. So overall, it would actually be better to treat the cancer early.
Thank you for listening. For the next episode, we'll do more sort of medical news. See you then.
Thank you.